Hello, and welcome to the Wild Violet Healing Podcast. I'm Erin, a yoga instructor and Ayurveda coach based in Minnesota, and I am so happy you are here. Today is the first episode in a series called Yoga On and Off the Mat. And to begin, we are going to explore the different paths of yoga, not styles, but paths of study and practice. There are four ancient paths of yogic practices: Karma Yoga, action and selfless service; Bhakti Yoga, which is intense devotion, faith, selfless love, a heart centered path; Jnana Yoga, applied knowledge and wisdom, which includes self inquiry, contemplation, the purifying of thoughts and ideas; and Raja Yoga, which leads to mastery over body, breath, emotions, and mind. Raja Yoga is where we find the movement classes we are most familiar with. We can compare Karma Yoga to acts of service, volunteering, donations. When we work in a soup kitchen, donate groceries, shovel snow for someone else. A few years ago, I viewed fostering kittens for the summer as a Karma Yoga practice. Any act that is a sacrifice for you, be it time, money, resources, energy, and that sacrifice helps another. But just doing those actions and calling it Karma Yoga is still surface level. We can go through the motions of these genuine, kind acts without thinking about it deeper and bringing the lessons into our heart. It is yoga when there is mindfulness of the actions and what they are intending to change within you, creating a character of kindness, humility, being hardworking, and forcing the mind to recognize selfish, malevolent, self-centered tendencies that we can change and grow from. When we have the awareness of ourself and actions and how they impact us and others. When we allow the lessons to shape who we are and from there, how we act in the future. And when we offer all of our actions and the results to the divine. That is practicing Karma Yoga. Simplified and at its extreme, Bhakti Yoga is the image of the devoted practitioners living in an ashram with a guru. Think monks sequestered away in a monastery. But I don't expect you to be here if that is your life path. So what does this look like here? Well, the specifics are influenced by your religious beliefs and practices if you have them. And that is one of the beautiful things about a yoga practice. It can fit within any individual's religion. Many religions already have these practices established. Prayer is a practice of Bhakti Yoga, holding love in your heart for the divine, that feeling of devotion. Chanting mantras fits into this path. Let's take a second to talk about mantras. The term mantra has become misused in popular culture. In yogic tradition, only very specific words and phrases in Sanskrit are a true mantra that have healing properties and work at a higher vibration. True mantras are sacred sounds or words that were given to the rishis, the most devoted and spiritually advanced individuals in that time. Yes, ancient yogic practices and philosophy formed in India adjacent to Hinduism. Yes, there are some mantras that are connected to Hindu deities, but others are universal. There is enough separation, should a yogi choose, to take more secular practices and philosophies to hold alongside their own religion. Om is one that is universal. So hum is universal. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti is universal, and these are sacred. And that is why practicing them is yoga, because they discipline the mind and the heart. They work in the energetic field, and they are the deepest truths of the universe that have the power to impact your life. Yoga is to bring awareness, to make the unseen seen, to uncover the shadows in your mind and spirit, look at them, and integrate them as part of yourself. For me, this has been served by my mindfulness practice. I haven't really heard this practice talked about in yoga circles that I have been a part of. It comes from the secular world, from psychology, stress and anxiety management. I happened to come to yoga just after introducing this practice into my life. But mindfulness is bringing awareness, noticing what is going on beneath the surface, questioning the patterns in your life, and setting yourself up to choose something different. To my mind, that is yoga. Specifically, that is Jnana Yoga. This yogic path is primarily a mental practice. It is a path that focuses on knowledge and wisdom that is directed inward, reading books and texts, thinking about them, and applying them to your own life in pursuit of a more truthful existence. It asks you to question yourself, your mind, your thought patterns, the stories you tell yourself, the blocks that keep you from moving forward in your own life. In action, this could look like a journaling practice, and even that can take many forms. There are so many ways to journal. You can free write journal about your day, letting your thoughts travel from your mind down through the pen and onto the page without judgment and censorship. And when you notice something sticky, something that seems particularly emotional, you direct your thoughts there to go deeper, seeing what you can uncover and learn about yourself, your emotions, and your reactions. You can use prompts from the internet or a guided journal. Lighter prompts, such as gratitude, or ones that look at you in a neutral to positive light, may be an easier introduction to this practice, a gentler way to form this potential habit. Gratitude journaling is actually a very powerful practice. It is intentionally focusing your thoughts on something neutral to good. Doing this over and over retrains your brain away from the negativity. The simplicity of a gratitude practice will actually have far reaching impacts on your entire life. But that's a topic for another time. You can focus on shadow journaling, which is the type that makes you ask the harder, deeper questions. Shadow journaling is closely tied to Carl Jung's idea of the shadow self, the parts of you that unconsciously impact your life, thought patterns, and choices. Shadow journaling is delving into your own mind, looking for the original why of something and acknowledging it, bringing awareness to it. A key point to all of this is that you do not judge. You do not judge yourself, your thoughts, your past actions. You approach with curiosity, with neutrality, and love if you are at a place to manage it. As a forewarning, these practices can be emotional. They can hurt or unearth past hurts that were never dealt with. They may even need to be supported with the help of a therapist. Your practice might ebb and flow, adjusting around what else is going on in your life. There are some phases where I do not have the mental energy to look at the harder questions. That is when I free write instead of following a prompt or try to explore a particular idea. But I am still journaling. I'm still taking the time to examine what comes out on the page, to notice if things seem easy or empty or full or exhausting. Putting thoughts on a page lets you look for patterns or places where you need a change. When my writing was short, I looked at why. And it was because I really didn't have much going on in my life to respond to think about. It reflected that I had created space by resting. And from noticing that, I felt that I was unsatisfied with how my time was being spent and that I was ready for something more. And realizing my desire for more opened my eyes to patterns that were keeping me from doing more. So I uncovered another shadow to work through. And that is how this works. You never really stop. You never get to a point where you can say, I'm done. There's always more to work through and uncover. This is a practice, not something you can achieve. But it is a practice that can help you achieve so much more in your life that is aligned with your truth, your deepest, most heartfelt desires, the reasons you are here. And now we come to the fourth path of yoga, the one that is most popular in American culture. Raja Yoga contains the practices that most people would associate with a yoga practice, including meditation, breath work, and the asana practices, no matter which style. There is an ancient text referred to as the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. We do not know officially if Patanjali was a person or a group of people, a lineage, but the sutras are verses written in Sanskrit that explain what yoga is, the philosophy, and how to practice it. In Patanjali's Sutras, Book 2, Sutra 28 and following, we are given a practical approach to living a yogic life. The eight-limb path has practices that can lead the yoga to samadhi, which is that blissful union with the universe. The 8 limbs are yama, which is abstinence, niyama, observance, asana, posture practice, pranayama, breath control, pratyahara, sense withdrawal, dharana, concentration, dhyana, meditation, and samadhi, superconscious state. Most of the time when we talk about yoga in our culture, people only think about the third limb, the asana practice, when we are physically moving our bodies. The whole idea of yoga has been reduced to gentle exercise for the body. It is why many individuals eventually feel that something is missing from their yoga classes. They have learned to tune into their bodies enough to sense there is more to yoga. They notice how their energy changes during classes, feeling calmer and grounded after a slow practice or energized after an active practice, based on the postures that the teacher chooses to weave together. Yes, physically moving the body is healthy and beautiful, but the asanas all have different energetics the body responds to. They create shifts in our energy field. A grounding practice brings the energy from the top of the body and sends it lower. There would likely be hip work and lots of seated or laying down postures in that sequence. An energetic practice would be faster moving, lots of standing and moving up and down, pumping the energy around, enlivening it. And we tend to feel good after an asana practice, but the effects eventually wear off because it was just one part practiced in isolation. We know from the ancient texts that originally there were only a few postures, 12 in fact. The purpose of the asana practice was to energetically prepare the body for the deeper mental work. It focused on inside the body, the organs, glands, and energy centers, the chakra system. In this time, people moved around much more in their daily lives and had less need for what we see as beginner poses. Those original 12 fall under the category of intermediate to advanced postures in our current lens of asana practice. Modern yoga is based more on gymnastics practices from around 100 years ago that focus on the muscles and joints. The practices that were popularized, particularly among elite women, are what we see in modern day yoga classes. That doesn't make attending these classes wrong, but it does leave out the larger picture of what was originally yoga. So let's go back and briefly explore the other 7 limbs. The yamas are the restraints, moral commandments, the ethics to avoid unrighteous behavior. They are the principles to guide how the yogi interacts with the world. There are 5 yamas: ahimsa, nonviolence; satya, truthfulness; asteya, non-stealing; brahmacharya, non-excess; and aparigraha, non-possessiveness. Each of these will have their own time where we can really explore what their original meaning is, how it has possibly been warped by culture, and how we can apply it to our modern daily lives. The niyamas are observances for peace and how to interact with yourself. Where the 5 yamas were focused outward, these 5 niyamas bring our attention inward. They are satya, purity; santosha, contentment; tapas, self-discipline; svadhyaya, self-study; and ishvara pranidhana, surrender. Again, each of these will have their own time. They are so fascinating. The third limb, again, is the asana practice, the body movements. The fourth limb is pranayama, which is the breathwork practice. There are many types of breathwork that can cause a different result in the body and mind. We could spend a lot of time here. One of the most commonly practiced is the box breath, where the inhales, exhales, and pauses between are an equal count. This practice grounds the body and mind and helps bring balance. Practicing box breath, which is also a belly breath, lays the foundation for manipulating the breath pattern for other purposes. If the inhale is longer than the exhale, that can help energize the body. When the exhale is longer, That helps relax and calm the body, particularly helpful before sleep. When you start to build control over the breath, you can branch out into other practices. Alternate nostril breathing, nadi shodhana, is particularly powerful for bringing balance to the body and finding the present moment, as well as helping to clear out the sinuses. Bumblebee breath, Brahmari, cuts through the static in the mind and helps you find peace. Ocean breath, Ujjayi, activates the vagus nerve, which brings the body into the parasympathetic nervous system, lowering stress and anxiety. There are many others, and we will go deeper into this into the future. The first 4 limbs are mainly focused on interacting with the physical world. The last 4 turn us inward. The 5th limb, pratyahara, is the practice of withdrawing the senses, of intentionally muting the signals the body sends to the brain about our environment and self. In a typical yoga asana class, this would be tuning out the noise from in and outside the classroom, or the sounds from the person on the mat beside you. It would be keeping your gaze soft so you aren't noticing details and distractions that may be present in the room, or closing your eyes during your practice if it is safe for you to do so. No longer noticing the feel of the clothing as you move your body or the temperature of the room. Harder would be blocking out smells. But this would be how you would practice pratyahara in a common asana practice. When you practice yoga nidra, the yogic sleep, you put intentional focus on sense withdrawal. Yoga nidra is not a nap, but an intentional guided practice where you access different brain waves that provide you with significant rest, as if you had achieved deeper sleep for much longer than your practice lasted. Pratyahara is a key part of that practice. The 6th limb is dharana, concentration. This is actually what most people are practicing when learning to meditate. It is literally the step before being able to achieve meditation. There are layers to dharana, but the main principle is that we are learning to hold our mental focus on a single thing, regardless of what the thing is. In a yoga asana class, this is when the teacher suggests you bring your awareness to something, usually the breath. The act of shifting your awareness is exercising control on the attention of the mind. It is pulling away from the chaotic, constantly shifting whirlpool of your thoughts and focusing on one thing. And then it is doing it again and again and again. Every time we notice that we are thinking, when we notice our thoughts, this is good. So often people are discouraged from meditating because they have to keep noticing and refocusing their thoughts. That is the practice. This stage of the practice, anyway. This is hard stuff. It isn't a natural state for the mind. And our current culture doesn't make it any easier. I'm thinking phones, Facebook Reels, short bits of media, as opposed to sustaining attention during a book or listening to music play. If you have attended my classes for a while, we practice this at the end during your Shavasana in the guided meditation visualization portion, but especially when I lead you through the body scan. We are shifting our awareness around different parts of the body. We aren't sustaining the attention on one thing, but we are holding and directing our awareness the entire time. Other guided meditations that you can find on apps and YouTube are additional ways to practice dharana because you are keeping your attention on the words of the guide, building that concentration muscle. So then the 7th limb is dhyana, meditation. This can only be reached as a practice when the body is able to be still, when the breath can sustain the body in slowness, when we can withdraw our senses from the outside world, and when we can sustain that concentration for a longer period of time. Then the mind can drop into the state of meditation. When you can maintain this state effortlessly and continuously, we have reached the state of uninterrupted flow. This is the state where the mind is finally empty. This is also why people who try to start a meditation practice believe the goal is to empty the mind. Yes, it would be, but that is not the first step. They haven't been taught what comes first, feel defeat on their own, and give up, saying meditation isn't for them. But reaching this meditative state is advanced, which is why this is a practice. And it is on the Raja Yoga path through reaching the state of dhyana meditation that we can reach the eighth and last limb, samadhi. This is when we can feel a sense of oneness, of being completely absorbed into the universe and all that is in it, of no longer feeling separate. This would be finding union with divine, that blissful state of connection. All four paths of yoga can lead to this state, to samadhi, but the eight limb path is the one with the most outlined steps to walk, to practice on that journey. Thank you so much for joining me today as we briefly explored the four paths of yoga and how you can practice them in your life on and off the mat. Any books, websites, or teachers I referenced for this episode are credited in the description. In yoga, lineage matters, and these teachers especially helped me grow into the person I am today. If you enjoyed this and learned something, please like, subscribe, comment, share, all the things. I hope to see you again soon.